In international news, trade war between Washington and Beijing deepens as the White House says its tariff rates on most Chinese goods remain at 145%. Well, the details of these and many more stories, including sports and entertainment, coming up over the next 1 hour.
We're starting from the security front, where we are told that security personnel within the Bawku enclave in the Upper East region are on high alert following renewed clashes that led to the shooting of a security officer and the torching of several properties. The youth of Kusau in Bawku in the Upper East region have called on the government to carry out an independent probe in the killings in Bawku by security agencies. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Teteyehunu, is leading a high-powered delegation to Bawku in an attempt to restore calm. Upper East Regional Correspondent Castro Senyala has been monitoring the developments in and around Bawku and has joined us on Zoom for a quick update. And you can see on your screens how deserted the town and its surrounding communities look like. And that has been happening in the last 24 to 48 hours. And it has a certain root cause to it. Let's speak to Castro now and get the latest. Castro, good evening. Thank you for your time. Can you first of all paint a picture for us what the current situation is like on the ground?
Right, Martin. Bawku remains very tense following yesterday's unrest. But then the security agencies, as usual, continue with their patrols to ensure that lives and property are protected. I can report that following the review of the conflict, the case, I beg your pardon, there's been a bit of, calm within the epicenters of the conflict since the arrests yesterday.
Right. We also do know that the IGP is headed there. He's been on his way for some days now. Where exactly is he, and when is he expected to enter the township proper? Do you know?
I continue to speak to security agencies, security sources within the state security agencies who tell me that the IGP, yes, is indeed heading to the Upper East region, but he has yet to arrive. But then we get the sense that he's on the way because we see a lot more of police armored vehicle moving on highways towards the region, which shows that he is getting closer, even though he's yet to arrive. But then we understand that once he's in town, he will definitely be doing a lot more things, including paying a visit to those of the officers who have been shot and are currently being treated at the hospital. Also, we understand that he will pay a call on the Bawku Naba Abu Gragu Azoka. And also we understand that he will engage with the traditional authority and other stakeholders within the region to ensure and find lasting solutions to the conflict. That's what we know so far as far as this is concerned.
Right. Castro, the concerns and issues about Bawku has been, decades old, and many have thought it to be a chieftaincy dispute and probably tribal dispute. But is this recent outbreak of chaos still related to the old issue, or this an entirely new trigger to the current chaos we are reporting?
Martin, everything that is happening in Bawku has always ended up being, linked to the prolonged chieftaincy conflict. And so the unrests we saw yesterday are indifferent. It has everything to do with the, prolonged conflict. And we understand that the fact that factions aren't, in agreement to mingle, as in doing business like they used to do, is what has caused yesterday's unrests. But the situation right now paints the picture that until, state agencies and especially the security agencies, get a footing within the ground and try to let the people understand that it's all about the need for peace, it will continue to be as it is. But then, for all the incidents we are hearing about, the attacks on the security agencies and houses and homes of prominent people within Bawku, everything has to do with the fact that it's linked to the prolonged chieftaincy conflict. And there is a need for state actors to do their best in arresting the situation.
Right, and finally, we also do know that, we got information that there was an attempt to torch the residence of the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central and the Majority Leader, Mahama Yariga. What exactly happened, if you can give us some details regarding that?
Right, that was the unfortunate turn of events today. And yes, we get information from our security sources and even residents on the ground in Bawku that an angry youth group attempted to torch the residence of the Member of Parliament for that area. We understand that the youth who were in a larger number went there, but fortunately the timely intervention of the security agencies, that is the police and that of the military, saved the situation. We in fact understand that there was even that, ignition that took place, but the security agencies were able to quickly douse the fire from spreading to other parts of the building. Then we also got information that another residence belonging to the Pusiga MP, which is also not so far from the Bawku Central MP, was also, torched. But then, as I've said, the security agencies were within time and were able to bring the situation under control. But as we speak now, a lot more men of the security agencies, the police and the military, are on the ground and, in fact, protecting all other very prominent institutions and, residential facilities to ensure that they aren't, touched as out of anger or out of the rampage that is currently being seen by the youth who are not happy about what is happening.
Castro, thank you for those updates, and definitely we will be coming back to you subsequently to get updates. Castro Senyala reporting from or on the issues about Bawku.
Away from the Upper East region, transport company Cytec has failed to comply with a presidential directive to reclaim portions of the Weija Ramsar site. During a tour of the area, the regional minister Linda Oklu directed the Weija Bawku Municipal Assembly to shut down the site. Meanwhile, unauthorized buildings at the Weija Ramsar site have been demolished. Stanley Niblo reports.
Ramsar sites are United Nations protected wetlands that serve as critical habitats for key bird and fish species. Ghana has 5 Ramsar sites, which play critical roles in collecting and holding rainwater to prevent flooding in surrounding communities. Unfortunately, these sites have come under intense pressure from human encroachment. Even the course of the Lafa River has not been spared. At the Weija Ramsar site, which stretches into parts of Dansoman, encroachers have taken over large portions of the wetland. The Greater Accra Regional Security Council, led by Linda Oklu, visited the site to enforce the President's directive to remove all illegal structures on waterways. The team supervised 2 earth-moving machines as they pulled down several unauthorized buildings. Some property owners stood by helplessly, watching as their walls were brought down.
Yeah, it's not around here.
Ebenezer Mate and his friends, who had acquired parcels of land on the Ramsar site, were among those whose property were demolished.
Well, actually, it's a new place that they are giving out. So I also, made up my mind to get something around, just to, do something small and lay my head. I'm out of words. I'm speechless now.
The Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu noted that the demolition exercise would continue unabated.
Looking at what we've done so far, I wouldn't say we've successfully executed our plans today. And so the little we can do, we've done it. Like I said, we'll go back and strategize and come back and then execute the rest of the buildings which are on waterways. We are not going to compensate anybody. Knowing very well that you don't have permits and you are building, why should we compensate?
Earlier, the Regional Security Council was at the opposite end of the Ramsar site to enforce a separate directive from President Mahama. The president had ordered Kitech, a Chinese construction firm, to restore several hectares of wetland they had filled with laterite. Unfortunately, the exercise was called off after the company refused to comply. The general manager of Kitech addressed the media.
We are working our way towards here. We need tipper trucks. We need some equipment that we'll put together and also come down here and clear all the material. So we are not reluctant to comply with the President's directive. We are still working on it, and then I believe that on their next visit they would see a significant change.
The team also inspected another section of the wetland that had been turned into an illegal refuse dump site. The minister immediately directed the Weija Bawku Municipal Assembly to close it down, expressing surprise that the assembly had no knowledge of who was managing the site.
We will meet the people at court to know who is behind it, because somebody was identified, the person denied being the one.
And so if you agree that there should be closure of this place, they would have done that long time ago. And we cannot be everywhere, and that is why the assembly is there to help us. So, engineer, please, if you can quickly write to them to put a stop or closure to this place, use the district police enforcement to do that for us.
As Ghana braces for the rainy season, efforts to reclaim Ramsar sites like Weija are about protecting lives, preserving biodiversity, and preventing avoidable disasters. Authorities say the demolition exercise is only the beginning of a broader campaign to safeguard the country's wetlands from illegal human activities. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Weija.
Away from that, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu says school authorities have the full backing of the ministry and the government to implement any necessary measures to protect students and teachers alike. He made these remarks during a stakeholder engagement held in Sunyani as national calls intensify for tighter security in schools.
When I heard about the shooting incident in Kumasi, my immediate response was, this is un-Ghanaian. This is not Ghanaian. But it has happened in Ghana. The Director General of GES have issued some directives and instructions. He has our full policy support and approval to enforce those directives. So in respect of the un-Ghanaian development of shooting in Kumasi, the Director General of the GES has the full support of government for you to strengthen your inspections in order that guns, knives, and other violent tools and equipment are not found in our schools. You have the full support of government to initiate those inspections at the weekend. We have to nip it in the bud as early as possible and as practically as possible, in order that we allow for a serene student environment. This cannot be part of the training of a Ghanaian child. That is immoral, that is violent, that is not Ghanaian culture.
Now let's take you through some incidents of indiscipline that have happened in our senior high schools as of now. We're starting off from the Seventh-day Adventist Senior High School in Bantama, which is happened quite recently on April 4, where students accidentally shot two peers, where one was critically injured. And then in March, at the Ofuase Kokobeng Senior High School, students protested headmistress over alleged mismanagement and poor food. Also on February 27, at the Christian Methodist Senior High School in New Aplaku here in Accra, there was a clash with locals over alleged theft, where 4 students were arrested with weapons. And then on February 23, at the Sokode Senior High Technical School in the Volta region, the students and local youth clash led to temporary school closure. And then on February 12, at the Soso Senior High School, a teacher was stabbed in the eye by a student of the school. And then February 5, at the Salaga Senior High School in the Savannah region, 20 students were arrested after a fight where one was stabbed, and then a locally made pistol was seized from one of the students. So now the ministry has said that the school has the full backing to, try to reduce some of the indiscipline in the schools. And so we are going to be speaking with the Teachers Association. Thomas Tanko Musa is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and he joins us via Zoom. Mr. Tanko, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us on News 360.
and to all your viewers.
Right. As always, we are thankful for you joining us this evening. But tell us what your understanding of the statement by the Education Ministry is. What are your initial thoughts?
So thank you very much. To begin with, or before I come to the substantive issue, these are our children. We cannot give up on them. They are our future leaders. Whatever we can do to rescue them, we owe it a responsibility to them to get it done. Having said that, we would like to thank Honorable Haruna Idrisu, at least for the support and the statement that he has made. At least I believe that by this statement coming from the sector minister, it will set the stage for some kind of changes and reforms regarding the correctional measures that must be put in place in terms of the behavior being put or being displayed by our students some few years back now. Having said that, the minister made it clear. I mean, listening to what he listening to the tape that you just played, he said that we need to look at the whole issue as to how we can make it practically possible. What must be said has been said. So how this thing will be implemented is the issue now. Let us all remember, currently the Ghana Education Service has a code in place, and that particular code determines how the staff should behave, or the things that the staff must do and the things that they must not do. Let us all remember the code is an aspect of the corporate governance, and the key requirement of corporate governance is accountability. And so we all will have to sit down to see how best that what the minister has said, the aspect of the code that must be reviewed. Let us all look at it and we have it reviewed so that we can all be on the same page. My concern here is that if we do not do that, some people will misinterpret what the minister has said, because I personally have been asking myself, so what is the way forward now? The way forward is for us to get the corporate governor to look at the code of conduct that we have currently in the Ghana Education Service within the context of our own corporate governance, look at it carefully, see the kind of review we can make, so that anytime you are called upon to account, you can easily account, so that we can all be on the same page. That is what I can say for now.
Right, so that means that NAT is open to any kind of adjustments that will be made in order for, this indiscipline to be reduced in some of these schools?
It is a must. It must be done. Look, hitherto, I always tell my story. I was at the elementary school. I completed elementary school in 1982. I was at the elementary school. The kind of things our teachers were dealing with. They were about you chewing gum, and maybe you will stick it to a table and they'll call you, or a desk, and they'll punish you. The other thing too, they were talking about coming to school late, and then you'll be punished. The other one is maybe you talking in a class, they will write the names of talkatives, and these were the things that they were dealing with. But today, look, since the time that, you see, let me put it in this particular perspective and you get it. We have now lost the what you call the behavioral aspect of our teachers. Our students. When a teacher goes to school, the teacher has three main things in mind. You are dealing with the head, that is the cognitive. You are dealing with the heart, that is the affective, and you are dealing with the hands and all the, as we call the psychomotor. The training of the heart, which has to do with the character and conscience, currently we've lost it. I repeat, the issue of the character and conscience, we've lost it. And the only way is that we should start it with the code, because the code has to do with the issue of the corporate governance, and the key requirement in corporate governance is accountability. So the minister has said, if we are able to review the code, and we have it inside, then we can start the reforms by looking at how best we can get the character and the conscience of our children corrected.
Definitely. So a lot of things have changed, and we need to deal with it head on. Thank you very much. Musa Tanko is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers.
Let's go on to one of the trending stories in the last few days. The Speaker of Parliament is awaiting an official request from the National Intelligence Bureau, which will grant access to the Assin South Member of Parliament, Reverend John Ntimfodjo, for interrogation on allegations of drug trafficking and money laundering linked to 2 aircrafts. The lawmaker held a meeting on Thursday, the 10th of April, with the leadership of the Minority Caucus just a day after operatives of some security agencies attempted to arrest him at his Spintex residence in Accra. George Queening reports.
Leadership of the Minority Caucus in Parliament met today at the Minority Leader's office at Job 600 in Parliament House to deliberate on the way forward with regard to allegations by Assin South MP Reverend John Ntimfodjo on suspicion of drug trafficking and money laundering activities by 2 suspicious aircraft, which led to a brawl when operatives of the National Intelligence Bureau (NIB) raided his residence at Spintex to cause his arrest to aid in investigations. Currently, the Bureau has resolved to engage the Speaker on how best to engage the lawmaker to assist investigations in the ongoing scandal. Moving forward, an official letter will be sent to the Speaker, who will then acknowledge receipt and schedule an appropriate date to hold such engagement. Just like how letters were written to the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, to engage MP for Goma Central, Kwame Asariobin, aka A+, and MP for Yagbakubori, Mustafa Yusuf, it will follow same format and have that meeting in Parliament. In a phone conversation with the lawmaker, Reverend John Ntimfodjo, he confirmed his readiness to cooperate with the Bureau and was certain such meeting is likely to take place after the Easter festivities. We'll follow up on this very development and make sure you don't miss a bit. George Queening, TV3 News, Parliament House, Accra.
And still in Parliament, members of the House do enjoy certain immunities and privileges under the 1992 Constitution. While they are not entirely shielded from arrest, there are specific circumstances under which they can be apprehended. Evelyn Tingma finds out when an MP can be arrested.
Article 116 of the 1992 Constitution guarantees members of Parliament immunity from civil and criminal processes arising from comments they make on the floor of the House. However, an MP can be arrested for crimes and other offences committed outside Parliament. They include treason felony, treason, participating in demonstrations, or engaging in private business. Controversies often arise whenever there is an attempt to arrest MPs. The likes of MP for Medina, Francis Xavier Sosu, MP for Assin North, James Jachikwesen, and MP for North Dine, Nelson Dafiamako, come to mind.
The Honorable Xavier Sosu was arrested by the police. We raised hell. The government said a commission of a crime is against the states, and parliamentary immunity cannot save us. They proceeded against John Jinapo, they proceeded against Dr. Kobran Donko, they proceeded against me. They came to bulldoze down my house. They arrested me. I was not saved by 115 or 116.
He stated that Reverend Ntimfodjo cannot invoke Article 115 of the Constitution to shield himself.
He held a press conference, and a press conference is not one of the processes that we use to raise a matter on the floor of the House. They gave you a genre of the procedures that you can invoke on the floor. That is by a petition, by a bill, by a motion, or otherwise.
However, legal advisor to the Assin South MP and former legislator for Ebuakwa South, Samuel Atachia, thinks the state has got it wrong.
The Speaker has already said, when you want to investigate matters concerning members of Parliament, there's a whole, protocols you should go through, and it's fair. The protocol is that they'll give you space in Parliament, then all the apparatus of the state who believe in the matter, their representatives will come and interrogate a person. Member of Parliament will have the right to counsel, and that's it.
Head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Professor Ali Duseidu, stressed the need to follow due process in arresting MPs.
Law is procedural. There are procedure, there are steps to doing the right thing. Even if you are right and you don't use the right procedure, you may end up being knocked out on technicality. Where there are genuine reasons to believe that MPs need to cooperate in a particular investigation, then security agencies know what to do. They know the procedure to use by sending the letter to the right people, and then the right thing will be done. But I also think they should live up to the expectation. They should be responsible.
Private legal practitioner Justice Abdullahi charged Parliament to establish a clearer roadmap as the current provisions in the law are not sufficiently clear.
Parliament sits down to develop a roadmap, a proper one. If it has to come in the form of a legislation, it is even the best, so that we would know the limits in dealing with members of Parliament by way of service of court processes and indeed Parliament itself, and then also effecting an arrest. Because I think for the time, for now, what we have is not helping. And that is why sometimes people may think that there are overzealousness of the executive in the enforcement of laws and all of that.
He also urged the National Intelligence Bureau and other security operatives to act with integrity and above reproach.
If you talk to lawyers in Ghana who have had the occasion to deal with the NIB and the national security, they will tell you that these are the most notorious security agencies in Ghana that do not follow any aspect of our laws, particularly when it comes to arrest and detention. They just don't even care whether there exist laws or not.
Now, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, has revealed the government's plan to renegotiate terms with U.S. authorities over tariff impositions. According to the minister, government is aiming to minimize their impact on Ghana's export markets and foreign direct investments.
At a stakeholder engagement meeting, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, highlighted the government's plan to renegotiate terms with U.S. authorities and ensure minimal disruption to Ghana's export market.
The initial imposition on 2nd April included Ghana in the list of countries with 10% baseline tariff, whilst other countries had relatively higher tariffs. The United States paused its earlier arrangements, which placed all its trading partners under a uniform 10% tariff for 90 days. This 90-day reprieve from the reciprocal tariff arrangement provides us with the opportunity to renegotiate terms for a potential reduction, and in my heart, 0%. The 90-day pause also provides us with the opportunity to assess the full impact of the tariff and adopt various strategies to mitigate the immediate impact on our trade and economy.
According to her, while some Ghanaian exports are exempt from the tariff imposition, the directive could still have dire impact on foreign direct investments into Ghana.
Some key Ghanaian exports, such as crude petroleum oils, bituminous mineral oils, and natural rubbers, are included in the list of products exempted from the 10% slab. The economic partnership between Ghana and the United States has been robust and multifaceted, with trade being a cornerstone of the relationship. Ghana is one of the leading recipients of U.S. foreign direct investment, FDI, in the sub-region, and this has played a significant role in driving economic growth and creating employment opportunities in Ghana.
She added that the government is committed to implementing initiatives to boost production, increase access to markets, and offer practical solutions to this major problem.
We are committed to implementing initiatives such as accelerated export development programs and rapid industrialization for jobs, as well as 24-hour economy policy to build economic resilience and to boost production and improve market access.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday, April 9, paused higher tariffs for 90 days for most countries, a reversal in a trade war that sent markets reeling. His universal 10% levy for all countries except China remains in place, as does the 25% rate for all aluminium, steel, and cars entering the U.S.
In a historic achievement for Ghanaian journalism, Media General's Godwin Asiedu has been named a winner of the 2025 Michael Elliott Award for Excellence in African Storytelling, making him the first Ghanaian ever in history to receive the honor. The award celebrates impactful journalism that amplifies underreported stories. Asiedu's fearless work exposing the harsh realities inside Ghana's mortuaries stood out among hundreds of entries from across the continent. There is more in this report.
Landmark moment for Ghanaian journalism, Godwin Asiedu a fearless investigative journalist at Media General, has been named a winner of the 2025 Michael Elliott Award for Excellence in African Storytelling, presented by the International Center for Journalists, ICFJ, the One Campaign, and the Elliott family. Asiedu becomes the first Ghanaian ever to receive this prestigious award, joining a distinguished group of African journalists whose work has shaped public discourse and driven social change across the continent. He earned this international recognition for his powerful documentary that peeled back the layers on Ghana's mortuaries, exposing the harrowing and dehumanizing conditions endured by mortuary workers, people who live in silence and service behind the scenes of life and death. The story sparked national conversation and amplified calls for reform in an often overlooked sector of public health. As part of the award, Asiedu will receive a cash prize and embark on a 2-week in-person internship with The Economist in London, a rare opportunity that will allow him to learn from global journalism leaders and refine his storytelling craft on the international stage.
Big congrats to Godwin Asiedu for shining the torch on major issues of national interest and drawing attention to them, and also packing up a lot more accolades. Congratulations.
I also hear it comes with some cash, so hopefully we get our share from it.
Oh, yeah, Godwin.
Congratulations.
Will sort out the membership. Congrats again, Godwin. So you're watching News 360 on TV3. Stay with us. Menuafo has the latest in the world of business.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on News 360. I am Minu Afol. The Ghana Stock Exchange is urging West African countries to develop a strong, self-sustaining regional bond market. This comes at a time when Ghana remains shut out of the international capital market following its recent debt crisis.
Ghana has been locked out of the Eurobond market since 2022 after its debt sustainability concerns triggered a default and an IMF program. The country has since turned to domestic borrowing and concessional loans. At the West Africa Bond Market Conference in Accra, organized by the GSE and the International Capital Market Association, key players like Managing Director of the local BERS, Abena Amwa, discussed how a unified regional market can help countries like Ghana raise long-term capital locally.
Our aim, especially in today's world where we are being shut out of international capital markets, where a lot of countries are looking in, it's very important that for economic growth, we focus on how we develop our own.
Nigeria's capital markets regulator, Dr. Imomotimi Agama, also weighed in on the issue.
For you to be able to achieve the purpose for development, you need to be able to raise long-term capital that will allow you to fund long-term projects.
Chief Executive of the International Capital Market Association, Brian Pascoe, however, expressed optimism about Ghana's bond market.
Obviously, there have been some macroeconomic challenges here that have made it difficult to grow the depth of the bond market, especially with the outlook for interest rates and the likes. But we're starting to see a normalization now, and that helps to build the conditions and the environment to rehabilitate the bond market.
In more news tonight, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has urged banks to exercise prudence in adjusting lending rates up despite a tightening monetary environment. He highlighted the importance of transparent communication with clients and the need for innovative lending solutions that protect credit access without undermining asset quality. The governor's appeal follows the Monetary Policy Committee's decision to increase the policy rate by 100 basis points to 28%, aimed at reinforcing disinflation in the country.
The policy rate increase also strengthens external buffers. It supports the cedi and signals our commitment to macroeconomic stability at a time of heightened global uncertainty. Colleagues, we also recognize that the policy rate hike will affect borrowing costs for businesses and households, while the policy tightening will affect funding costs and credit pricing in the near term. The financial system is well positioned to absorb these effects. We therefore want to urge banks to exercise prudence in adjusting lending rates and maintain transparent communication with your clients.
Away from that, Ghanaian businesses have been urged to leverage the country's competitive advantages to attract new investors, particularly in the face of the US 10% tariff on Ghanaian exports. Productivity Ecosystem for Decent Work Manager at the International Labour Organization, David Marcus, notes that Ghana has become an investment hub in the sub-region with its good industrial relations.
Ghana has become a key investment hub in West Africa due to its stable democratic governance and a growing accessible economy with a focus on ease of doing business and access to a large regional market. Productivity Ecosystem for Decent Work Manager at the International Labour Organization believes there are more investors ready to build a favorable trading relationships with Ghana.
Whatever investor comes to Ghana will find also the comparative advantages of being in a market where English is spoken, that is near geographically to destination markets, where there is infrastructure, where there is a good level of education for the workers, and especially where there is very good industrial relations.
Speaking on the sidelines of the ILO Productivity Ecosystems for Decent Work conference in Accra, he stressed the importance of management function in improving productivity at workplaces.
the management function is essential. So when you talk about productivity, there is many elements that improve productivity in a company, like the equipment you use or the training of your workers. But I think the management function is essential. And when I mean performance, I don't mean just performance in terms of like profits, which is important, of course, when you run a business, but also performance in terms of like working conditions.
It's time now to take a look at how the cedi is faring against major trading currencies and how some of our key commodities are faring on the global market. And that's it for Business Tonight here on News 360. My name is Menu Afo. Stay with us. Sports News is up next.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oriku Ampofo. Ghana Premier League side Heart of Oak have secured goalkeeper Benjamin Asari's services with a contract extension that will keep him at the club until 2027. Asari, whose performances have garnered significant attention, was reportedly attracting interest from Moroccan giants Raja Casablanca and 3 other unnamed French clubs. My colleague Mutala Yakubu has more in the following report.
Accra Heart of Oak have extended the contract of goalkeeper Benjamin Asari to 2027. The former Olympic shortstopper signed a 2-year deal with the Phobians last season, and this time he signed another 1 year to make it 3 years. Now, Benjamin Asari recently made a name for himself when he was imposed for the Black Stars in the 2 World Cup qualifiers that we played against Chad and Madagascar. And this new contract means that if a good offer comes in for him, then Heart of Oak can be rest assured they are getting some good money there. Benjamin Asari himself has talked about the fact that he wants to repay Heart of Oak in the faith they had in him. So it looks like a marriage made in heaven. But then Heart of Oak will look like the biggest winners here if a substantial offer should come in for him.
Let's do some more where Brentford FC's G-Tech Community Stadium in London, United Kingdom has been confirmed as the venue for the 2025 Unity Cup. The competition will see Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago battle it out for bragging rights in the Afro-Caribbean International Tournament. The first match will see Jamaica face Trinidad and Tobago on May 27 in the first semi-final before the Black Stars renew their rivalry with Nigeria a day later. The two losers will face each other in the third-place playoff on May 31, with the final set to take place on the same day. Originally launched in 2002, the iconic Nigerian clash between Nigeria and Jamaica, the Unity Cup has become a symbol of unity and cultural pride throughout football. This year marks the 3rd edition and the first time 4 teams will compete in the tournament's history. Beyond the competition, the event serves as a vital preparation for all teams ahead of their respective World Cup qualifiers later in 2025. Let's now check out what has been said so far by Brentford's ambassador Marcus Gale. Now, he says that we are excited for the return of the Unity Cup and so proud to host the tournament at the G-Tech Community Stadium. This tournament will not only bring together elite footballing talent from Africa and the Caribbean, but also celebrates the deep cultural and sporting connections between these nations. This is a great opportunity for the world to see the thriving talent of these players. We look forward to the entertainment the Unity Cup brings and seeing the tournament make its mark once again. Away from football, Ghana's sole representative at the 2025 CAVB Championship, L Wings, intensify their preparations ahead of the competition in Libya. The tournament, which will be used as a continental qualifier for the World Championship, is set to begin on April 18 through to May 2. My colleague Solomon Amankwa visited the team's training camp and filed this report.
2025 African Volleyball Club Championship is set to begin in Libya. Ghana's sole representative, Elwak Wings, intensified training ahead of the competition. The competition is set to begin on the 18th of April 2025 to the 1st of May 2025. Will be used as the continental qualifiers for the World Volleyball Championship. Head coach of Elwak Wings, Abdul Ganyu Mashoud, believes that his boys are eager and ready to lift the flag of Ghana high.
We are ready and we've prepared to go and win the trophy for Ghana. We are not just going to present or participate there. We are going to win the trophy for Ghana and we need each and everyone's support.
Vitus Tulu, who was a member of Ghana's bronze medal winning team from the African Games, will be part of this squad. And he believes that with experience from the African Games, he can lead the team to go all out to excel.
The experience from the All-African Games have upped my game and then with the team as well. We have learned some of their styles of play and we have implemented it in our training. So from the experience I have and then talking to my boys, I believe it's going to help us push forward.
Adam Dartey, who is the president of the club, is calling out for Ghanaian support as well as the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Idi Adams to come to their aid as they prepare to leave the shores of Ghana for the competition.
We want to plead with the government, the ministry, to support us for our accommodation and the plane ticket for the players to go. I know our minister, we know him. He said he's not for football alone. He's here for all the sports, and we are happy for all that he said. And we know that he can do for us, because this is the first time Ghana has qualified for this, and we are going to raise Ghana name. And this is also going to qualify Ghana for the club championship, a World Cup championship.
Remember, the African Volleyball Club Championship will begin on the 18th of April and end on the 2nd of May. This will be the qualifier for the World International Volleyball Championship, which will be staged later this year. Solomon Amankwa, 3 Sports from Airwax Sports Stadium.
Well, just before we go, updates from Europe as Lenny Yoro has equalized for Manchester United in their quarter-final game against Olympic Lyon. It's currently 1-1. Almada had put the French side earlier in the first half. You can get updates of that game on our social media handles at 3 Sports. My name is Ori Kwampofo, and up next on the bulletin is entertainment.
In entertainment news this evening, music executive and entertainment pundit Ricky Tennyson has raised concerns about the nominees for this year's TGMA New Artist of the Year. According to him, the quality of the nominees marks a significant decline when compared to those from previous years. He shared his views on the afternoon show right here on TV3.
In 2021, Hamrado, Bosom Piyong, Dead People, Jackie, Kofi Jamal, Kweku Flake, LaRusso, Mr. Drew, Yao Tog, Camido.
They are all top artists now.
In 2024, I'm seeing Lali and Lola, Ara Deji, Rap Father, Team Eternity, B-Strap, Kwesi Amaruga. Bro.
Professor, what you're saying?
Look, it's a very serious issue. Look, we are on a serious decline. And it happened last year and 2 years before. But bro, there's a real conversation. The reason why I'm saying this is because in 2014, when the season or when there was a drought, even though the mainstream artists were actually excelling, when there was nobody, and you can check, we only decided to put 3 new artists, which was Joey.
Let's now bring you some international news. The trade war between Washington and Beijing deepens as the White House says its tariff rate on most Chinese goods is 145%. President Donald Trump had announced a 125% levy on imports from China yesterday. But now the White House confirms that is on top of an existing 20% fee. Beijing earlier announced an 84% tariff on U.S. goods entering the country. Meanwhile, the European Union has put retaliatory tariffs against the U.S. on hold after President Trump paused a 20% tariff against Europe for 90 days. The EU now faces the same 10% baseline tariff as most other countries, which Trump announced last week. Tanzania's opposition leader Tundu Lissu has been charged with treason a day after he was arrested following a rally he held in the south of the country. The charge is connected to his nationwide campaign pushing for electoral reform under the slogan, "No reforms, no election." Tanzania is due to go to polls in October, where Lissu is expected to challenge President Samia Suluhu Hassan. When Samia first came to power in 2021 after the death of her predecessor, John Magufuli, she was praised for reversing some of his more authoritarian tendencies. But she has since been criticized after some opposition members have been targeted with arrests and abductions.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu Dartey.
And I'm Ayisha Yakubu. Enjoy the rest of our programs and have a good evening.